First of all, they started with the Astros this morning, and I was listening to a lot of the press conferences from the owner to the players, and listening to their sound bites on MLB radio on Sirius, and listening to the owner, who I got to tell you really is. The problem with this entire Astros situation is that nobody has credibility, okay? And when the owner comes out and he even tells you that he doesn't think that they had an advantage and that he doesn't owe an apology to anybody and that he doesn't know exactly what went on completely in the investigation, the fact that they didn't do their own internal investigation, the fact that they're not holding anyone else accountable because this was player driven and it was created by the players and management allowed it to happen. I'm sure they knew about it, and that's why in all of this they really approached it the wrong way. And I know that a couple of the players, Bergman came out again, had another statement that was weak. I saw that Altuve came out and he kind of apologized, but not really. And they're not apologizing directly. They're not saying that they cheated. You know, the owner won't say they cheated. Do you know why they're not going to say that? Do you know why they're not going to apologize either? Because then that would completely admit that they were, defacing the game. And because of that, then people will tell you, well, now you got to give up the title. And that's why they don't go to the extreme of, well, that's why the owner is going to say, well, I don't need to apologize, because if I apologize, then I am admitting that my team cheated and got an advantage. Whereas, the owner came out. I heard it myself a couple of times when he was asked, and he said that his team did not have an advantage, which is a joke. Of course you have an advantage. You have a major advantage. Like I've said before, you and I can know a fastball, an inside fastball is coming, a high fastball is coming, a low fastball is coming. We're still not going to hit it. You and I can know it's a breaking pitch, it's a curve, it's a screwball, it's a forkball, it's inside, outside, we're still not going to hit it. But those guys, are you kidding me? When those guys know exactly what pitch is coming, forget about it. And if you actually are able to tell them the pitch and the part of the zone, it's over. They know not to be ahead of the pitch. They know not to wait. They know exactly what to do. Because that's the beauty of pitching. When you guess wrong, they got you off balance. And when you're swinging up, you had to wait because that thing was going to drop, sink, slow down, whatever it is, curve. It's a major advantage. And so, yeah, people lost their jobs. People lost their careers. People lost playoff games. People lost an opportunity to win a World Series. And the Houston Astros cheated their way to the title. All throughout the season and all throughout the postseason, they had an advantage. And the electronic devices that have not been proven yet, whether it's true or it's not, the key is you have no credibility. And when you look like Jose Altuve, there is no woman in the world that's going to be worried about you being shirtless. Okay? Because what?
As he's running up, like,
yeah.
No.
I get that. So Altuve, he's got no credibility whatsoever. And so you could be wearing electronic devices. I don't believe you. I don't believe anybody in that organization. And the worst part about it is that the owner knows that his team was cheating, And he didn't want to really delve deep into the investigation because he was afraid of what more was going to come out. The fact that the Astros didn't do their own internal investigation and that the owner, throughout this press conference, referred to the commissioner's report, which, by the way, the commissioner, they don't have any subpoena power. They can't intimidate the players. They can't force them to talk. They can't get any real information. And how far did their office really go? And as incompetent as baseball is, how can you believe them anyway? Right? So it's just one of those things that it just makes no sense on every level. This is going to fester. This is going to live on for a while, and they're going to continue to ask it throughout the spring training into the regular season. All of this is going to drag on because the Astros failed to put an end to the controversy. And because you continue to kind of stretch this lie out, because you kind of are living behind the lie, people are going to continue to go after you. Reporters are now going to continue to dig up dirt. And they're going to try to find things on other guys. And you know what's going to happen, right? As time goes on, as these guys get beaten up in public, on social media, by the media, by everyone, somebody's going to start saying, I gotta get this off my chest. I gotta talk, man. I can't take this anymore. Because now you got to live with it. And this is something you can at least rid yourself of it if you're the one that finally comes clean. You know? While Mike Fiers started the fire, he's not the guy that was stealing signals and hitting and benefiting from it nearly as much. So we got to hear from the culprits. And then that's where it gets hairy here, because now that means somebody has to rat a whole bunch of people out. But, and while it's terrible, most of us don't do it. Most of us kind of stay quiet and bite the bullet, but you're going to have to do something because it's what's best for the game. It's what's best for your image, unless you want to live with this for the rest of your life. And most people are going to look at you and say, yeah, that championship doesn't count, dude. Sorry. You're not going to get credit for an achievement. I mean, in my eyes, I don't give the Houston Astros any credit now. None. Now I want to give them less and less credit because they are as gutless as it gets. Listen, man, you're going to make a mistake or 2 or 10. I'm going to make 300 to 400 of them. But we can't make excuses about them. We can't hide behind the lie. We got to face the truth and say, okay, we screwed up. This is what I did. This is my fault. For whatever reason I did it to get a competitive advantage, I now recognize and realize that what I did, at that moment, I might have thought it was the right thing to do, and I didn't think it was that bad, and I was taking advantage of the system. But what I did was I took advantage of the game. I cheated my opponents, and I won something that I don't deserve. At least you can respect that. At least you want to come clean and come forward because you clearly had an advantage. And so that's why when we see everything that's going on, this is going to live on for a while now. Because, and this is a terrible example for everybody out there. Not just kids, man, okay? For adults, too. Because kids aren't the only ones that are screwing up. Obviously, this is an adult-driven mistake. And the adults aren't acting like adults. Including the owner, who, you know, it's It's actually, when I look at the owner, it's disgraceful the way he's carried himself with all of this. You fire two guys that, okay, they got to take some of the blame for it, but the players aren't held accountable. Baseball doesn't hold the players accountable. Players union, by the way, I know they got to do their job, but they're protecting a bunch of cheaters also. Nobody is helping this situation out. No one. The people that broke the rules aren't willing to come forward and come completely clean about it. That's why they met for so long yesterday and they didn't allow anybody in, because they're all trying to get their story straight. All right, so how are we going to attack this? How are we going to attack our cheating scandal? And what's the lie we're all going to use? What's the loophole we're all going to hide behind? Commissioner's report. You know, that's exactly what we're seeing. And so nobody's doing the game any good anywhere. Not the violators, not the people that are above the violators, not the owner, not Major League Baseball, not the commissioner. No one's doing the game any good, because now you're just allowing a cheating scandal to fester. You're allowing all the questions to be continued to be asked. You're not giving any real, concrete, and specific answers. There isn't a real apology where you are truly remorseful about your actions and that you explain your actions. No. Why? Because if we get to that point, then all of a sudden, the next point is stripping the title. And then that's the thing that's going to pick up steam. But the commissioner wants to sweep it under the rug, not go after the players, because he knows once you open that Pandora's box, all the other teams and owners will have a right to say, hey, well, wait a minute. We've got to vacate that title. If we're not going to at least give it to the Dodgers, we vacate the title. Nobody won that title. And nobody's recognized for that title because of the cheating scandal. And baseball doesn't want that black eye. They've had the Black Sox scandal, right? They've had the strike in '94 that eliminated that World Series, that we were headed for one of the great World Series, by the way, with the Yankees in Montreal. We had the steroid scandal, right? And you got this scandal now. And we still talk about the Black Sox, and it's over 100 years ago. Steroids doesn't stop being mentioned, and it started practically in the 80s, let's say, with the godfather of steroids, right? I mean, the self-proclaimed godfather of steroids, Jose Canseco. All of these things are black eyes, and they know that this is something that is going to expand and become a bigger dent in the game, a game that has gone downhill. A game that used to be, when I was a child, it was the country's pastime. You call baseball now the country's pastime, and you look like an idiot because it's not even close. Football passed it by miles decades ago. Basketball's already passed it. The MLS will pass it in 10 years. When we get to the 2030s, I guarantee you soccer will be ahead of baseball. MMA will be ahead of baseball. A lot of things, and they know it. And that's because whether it's their rules, whether it's the way they carry themselves, the fact that they're not on commercials and social media and promos, they don't connect with young people at all. The things that young people do, baseball does it. And you heard it from some of the Marlins over the weekend that we had on our show. Some of them even, one Marlin said, baseball's boring already as it is. We got to spicing it up. That's a young guy saying that. This is the truth, and this game is hurting so badly that the commissioner and baseball, they don't want to delve into this controversy too deep because it's going to become a bigger problem for them. And it's a shame because this is a great moment also to set an example. And baseball once again is setting the wrong example. I mean, you went after the steroid users. You're not allowing them in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's pretty good. You have an opportunity here. You got a bunch of cheaters that made their way to a title. Do something about it. Make an example. Send the message to everybody that this will not be accepted.